Welcome to Vedic Mathematics Basis Values classes. We are initiating and exposing about 5-space VMST. In phase 15, we are in the shelter of Kailash Samhita. Lord Skand is the overlord of Kailash Samhita. Today, along with us are the senior sadhakas who are along Gyatri Mantra Path. Gyatri Mantra is the source transcendental path. Shiv Puran, ancient wisdom, preserves the enlightenment that the senior sadhakas who are along the Gyatri Mantra Path, they can visit, reach and have bliss of the entire range of Vedic mantras. The whole range of Vedic mantras are attainable by the sadhakas who are along Gyatri Mantra Path. In this lesson 89, we are focusing upon the transcendental envelope. Transcendental envelope is of 12 components and self-referral domain, 6-space domain, hypercube 6 is accepting transcendental boundary of 12 components. A raised to power 6 is to 12 b raised to power 5 is the domain boundary formulation of the hypercube 6, the representative regular body of a 6 space. Hypercube 6 is the representative regular body of 6 space and domain boundary ratio is a raised to power 6 is to 12 b raised to power 5. The boundary, the transcendental boundary is of 12 components. If the transcendental boundary component strips off, then it dimensionalizes the outside space as a 7 space, a space of a pole star, Dhruv. This 7 space dimensionalization would mean that solar universe 6 space accepts 7 space as a origin, and it would mean that the reach would be a raised to power 7 is to 12 b raised to power 6. We can have a pause here and take note that formulation sapt with simple meaning as 7 is of TCB value 14. It is this feature that a raised to power 7 means hypercube 7 means 7 space as a domain will be accepting a unity boundary of 12 components. These 12 components as such are making a pair of 7 streams each. It is this feature which is the focus point of the transcendental envelope. The 5 space as a transcendental boundary, when strips off, it dimensionalizes the outer space as a 7 space. The dimensional frame of 7 space is of value 5 into 7, as there are 7 dimensions of transcendental order. So value is 35, and value 35 constitutes a reflection pair with value 53. This value 53, we will be coming to it, and then we will be reaching at that value 53 is a synthesis value of a pair of transcendence ranges of solid order 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is a transcendence range of a solid order. The second transcendence range of a solid order synthesis is of value 3 equal to the dimensional order. It leads us to value 53. Therefore, the transcendental boundary component, when strips off from the 6-space domain, it dimensionalizes the outside space as of value 35, and 35 constitutes a reflection pair with value 53, and this value 53 we have seen is the synthesis value of the pair of transcendence ranges. So it is a transcendental carrier. So value 53 is value of a transcendental carrier of a solid order. So solid order transcendental carrier would mean the synthesis of a pair of transcendence ranges of a solid order. As such, the outside space, when gets dimensionalized as 7 space, it comes within the transcendental dimensional frame of value 35, and as a result of it, it gets in a reverse orientation. So in the reverse orientation becomes the flow of the transcendental carrier. As such, the 7 space dimensionalized outside 6 space gives back, flows back, the values of the 7 space flows back into the 6 space domain to constitute its origin as a solid order transcendental carrier. So 7 space with 5 space as a dimension, as such, in the process results into that there is a transcendental carrier. So the transcendental carrier, a pair of transcendence ranges of a solid order. Therefore, this solid order transcendental carrier flow results into, and it reaches and makes the origin of a range. This would mean that the 7 space content, which is a black matter, so 7 space content, a black matter, is carried as transcendental carrier of a solid order, and it makes a origin of our solar universe. And further, we know that this 7 streams flow will be of both orientations. As such, the downward orientation will give us 6 plus 7 is equal to 3 is equal to 13, which is parallel to 13 geometry's range of 6 space. Further, we know that value 13 is the TCV value of formulation Prakash. One shall have a pause here and have a glimpse of this phenomenon of the transcendental envelope. Further, we know that value 13 is parallel to the value of a 13-edged cube, a 12-edged cube which manifests within a creator's space. Within creator's space, 12-edged cube manifests a additional edge, 13th edge. And further, we know that value 13 constitutes a reflection pair with value 13. Therefore, this 13 with the first reflection as making a bimb, means the image as 13, it at a second reflection will again take back to value 31. Therefore, in the process, 31, 13 and 31 makes a value 75. We know that value 75 constitutes a reflection pair with value 57. Value 50, value 75 is the synthesis value of the transcendence range of a transcendental order. So 5 space as a dimension leads to a transcendence range 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the second transcendence range of a transcendental order, and the synthesis value 5 equal to the dimensional order value will take us to 35 plus 5 plus 35 is equal to 75. One can have a pause here and take note that here the transcendental boundary, when is stripped off and goes in the outer space, so it goes in the outer space with the 5 space and order, would mean that it will be flowing out from the transcendental boundary. So this transcendental boundary 5 space, when is stripped off, it would mean that it is making a 5 space as a dimension reaching up till 9. So it makes a transcendence range. Therefore, the pair of transcendence ranges will be taking to value 75, which would mean a transcendental carrier of a transcendental order. So the transcendental boundary is leading to the transcendental carrier of a solid of transcendental order. Therefore, the outward flow from the solar universe towards the pole star, a reach at the pole star, is going to be a transcendental carrier of a solid order of value 75. We have seen that when 7 space is outer space is dimensionalized as a 7 space, it comes within a dimensional frame of 5 transcendental dimensions of value 35. It constitutes a reflection pair with 53, and 53 is the transcendental carrier's value of a solar order. Further, we know that 3 space plays the role of a 5 space, and here we are seeing how the transcendental boundary, when stripped off, leads to a transcendental carrier of a transcendental order, and return back is going to be of a solid order. So it is this phenomenon which deserves to be comprehended well. It is this phenomenon with which we have to be face to face, and we have to imbibe these features. Further, we have to have a focus upon the creators of space, that the 4 space is playing the role of a 6 space. Now, we also know that 5 space plays the role of a origin of a 4 space. Therefore, 5 space is playing the role of the origin of a 4 space. 4 space plays the role of dimension of a 6 space, and 5 space goes as a transcendental boundary. Further, we know that the transcendental origin is creating a transcendental cavity. So at the center of the 4 space emerges a transcendental cavity. This transcendental cavity is of the format as that the pentagon, it gets a format of a pentagon. So the transcendental cavity is having a format of a pentagon, and further we know that from each of the corner points there emerge a pair of internal diagonals. So these internal diagonals ultimately cut out a inner pentagon, and none of the diagonals pass through the center of the pentagon, and it happens to be ad infinitum phenomenon. It is this ad infinitum phenomenon that is responsible for the twofold reach in terms of the transcendental envelope. This transcendental envelope deserves to be seen. One shall sit comfortably and permit the transcending mind to be face to face with this phenomenon of a transcendental cavity, and then the transcendental cavity is around the transcendental origin of a creator's space, is playing the role of a dimension of a self-referral domain, and self-referral domain is accepting a transcendental envelope. Therefore, this phenomenon of the value 31 with image 13 and again second reflection pratibimb, so is 31. But simultaneously we know that this value is of a value of a cube manifesting 13th edge within a creator's space. Further we know that the creator's space is presided by Lord Brahma and it is of value 29. Therefore, this value 31 and 31 is the value which is adjusts this, and therefore there remains a value 33. 31 plus 31 is 62, and this 62 is 33 plus 29. So this 29 value is the creator's format base. There remains value say 2. Further we know that cube is a setup of 31 structural components, 8 corner points, then there are 12 edges, there are 6 surfaces and 1 volume, then there are 3 dimensions and 1 origin. Further we know that cube splits into 8 subcubes of structural components 125. Therefore, this 125 plus 125 is equal to 250, and this 250 plus this value 33, it takes us to value 283, which is parallel to the total letters of the text of the Ganita Sutras. Simultaneously, we know the hypercube 4 is a 4 space, a 2, 3, 4, 5 of value 14, and as such 250 minus 14 will give us the value 236, which is parallel to the letters of the Ganita Sutras. This way, this whole phenomenon is the phenomenon which deserves to be seen in the context of the transcendental boundary. It is the transcendental boundary, it is the role of a 5 space as a dimension, which is the basic role with which we have to be face to face with. Now it is this phenomenon which is ultimately taking the sadhakas along a Gayatri Mantra path. This Gayatri Mantra path. Now Gayatri Mantra is the text which is of 23 syllables. As such, when we say that when one is along this tat svitar vrenium bhargo devasya dhimahi dhyo yona prachodayat, this Gayatri Mantra text which is of 23 syllables and which is of 56 syllables. Now it is this phenomenon, it is this feature, it is this value which we have to be face to face to have the appreciation as to how the sadhakas, imbibing the transcendental code values and being face to face with the 5 space VMST format of the enlightenment of Lord Skanda of a Kailash Samhita can reach at the whole range of Vedic mantras. Here the reach would be that instead of the TCV values, say TCV value 23 as 23 syllables, akshars. How the TCV values, so the TCV values which we reach at when these are taken as syllables. So 23 syllables setup is a Gayatri Mantra. And we know that value 23 is the value of a formulation Anant, which means infinitely many. This is also equal to Sahastra, which would mean 1000. And this is also equal to the TCV value is also equal to Parvati, the goddess. Therefore, the reach from the TCV values to the syllables, the number of syllables. Therefore, the sadhakas are now to open a new textbook, a new notebook for compiling Akshar, Sarg, Sankhya. Means we have to have the syllables, powers, number. Means the number of the syllables, the power of creation of the number of syllables. So each syllable is a unit TCV value. So when for any formulation, say for Parvati, we reach at value 23, that would mean that it will be leading us to as many as 23 syllables. Now syllables would mean an akshar, and akshar is of TCV value 13, and 13 is the value we know that when the transcendental domain means the 5 space as an origin, when it transcends out, it splits this domain into 4, 5 and 4 of value 13. So this akshar is a setup of a transcendence of 5 space as origin from the 4 space domain, and 4 space domain splits into a pair of 4 space domains and this becomes as such 13. And we know that when 5 space comes out, then it gets enveloped within a creative boundary of 10 components. Therefore, this value 10 is acquired, so it is 23 is equal to 30 plus 10. Therefore, the transcendental path of a Gayatri Mantra is a format of 23 syllables. These 23 syllables would mean a formulations of 23 as TCV value. The TCV value 23 is at the format base of the Gayatri Mantra, and we know that value 23 is equal to 3 plus 5 plus 3 into 5. That means the 5 space domain, when the dimension and the domain are superimposed for its addition and multiplication operation, this leads to value 23. Now this is the value 23 which is of the goddess. Therefore goddess, so Lord Shiv, this is the value as a domain is of a Lord Shiv and its boundary enveloping with it. It is here the goddess, here the value is 23, here is Parvati. As such, the reach from transcendental code values to syllables. 23 as transcendental code value of Parvati, Sahastra, Anand is taking us to the 23 as syllables. So each syllable, akshar, itself is of TC value 13. Therefore, the 13 values would be that 4 space domain is transcending out a 5 space. So it is this phenomenon with which this akshar, this syllable, and this 5 space then gets enveloped within a creative boundary of 10 components, and it leads to value 23. Now it is this format, it is this reach which is to be imbibed. Sadhakas fulfilled with intensity of urge to be along the Gayatri Mantra path shall sit comfortably, permit the transcending mind to glimpse the transcendental grace within the cavity of the heart. Now, this is the phenomenon of the enlightenment of a Brahma transcending within the cavity of his own heart, and with the grace, transcendental grace, multiplying as 10 Brahmas. Now, this phenomenon is the phenomenon which would mean that the transcendental Lord is leading to the goddess Parvati. This is the reach at a creative boundary. So having a reach at the creative boundary of the transcendental domain would mean that we will have a 23 value, a value which would be 3 plus 5 and 3 multiplied by 5, and both is superimposed. It is the goddess Parvati. It is the creative boundary. Therefore, as such, when we are along the Gayatri Mantra format, or when we are on the Gayatri Mantra path, that would mean that we are along the creative boundary of the transcendental domain. So, creative boundary of the transcendental domain is the Gayatri Mantra path. Gayatri Mantra path is the format of the creative boundary of the transcendental domain. The creative boundary of the transcendental domain as a path, as a format of the Gayatri Mantra is to be chased. Therefore, here, when we are working in terms of the values and features of the Vedic mathematics of the Ganita Sutras and of this 5-space format of a Sthapatya miring rod, then we are availing a Devanagari alphabet. Each of the Devanagari alphabet letter is having a transcendental code value. Dive Ank is attached. So this Dive Ank Vivasta. From here we have to reach at Akshar Vidya, a syllables knowledge. So Akshar, syllables are having power, a Shakti. These Akshars, these syllables are having a creation, Sarg. So Akshar Sarg. So the number of the syllables. So up till the stage of having a reach for the existence of phenomenon within solar universe, we are working along the Sthapatya miring format in terms of the transcendental code values. Now, when we are reaching a step ahead as to the reach of the creations, so Sarg, Srishti, the creations is a phenomenon which is a step ahead of the existence phenomenon. So the creation phase and stage is the stage of the Akshar Sarg Sankhya. The Akshar Sarg Sankhya means the Akshar is a 13, Sarg is a 10, and Sankhya is 19, and it makes 42, which would mean that the essential format now would be the synthesis format of a spatial transcendence range. Therefore, spatial transcendence range is the format which is to be availed for the creations. Now, the Gayatri Mantra is the basic foundation format mantra. It is a path, it is a format, it is a way along which we can have a chase to be face to face with the creation phenomenon, and this creation phenomenon will be counting the syllables. So tat is a first syllable. So sa, vi, ta, this vito giving 3 syllables. Varaneniyam is giving 3. Then Bhargo is giving 2. Devasya is giving 3. Dhi is having 1. And then Mahi is having 2. Dhyo is having 2 syllables. Yona is having 2. And Prachodhyat is having 4. And these are 23 syllables. Therefore, instead of working with the TCV values, we will be working with the syllables. And we know these 23 syllables are in fact availing 56 letters. Therefore, we will be now working with the syllables and the letters. Therefore, Devanagari alphabet letters and the syllables, aksharas formed by these letters. So we will be directly working with the letters and the formulations as syllables. Creation format of the Gayatri Mantra is the format when we work with the syllables which avail the letters. 56 letters are being availed by the 23 syllables, and 56 we know that when we have a value of range 1 to 28, then the total factors of range will be 56. As such, now we work creations, we will be along the format of 28, a second perfect number, that means a Brahm. So it would be becoming a Brahm Vidya, and 56 is going to be the duplication of Brahm. So 28 plus 28. So Brahm is a state when the infinity becomes a Puranam. So it will 28 will become 28 plus 28, 56 will be coming to this all features. Therefore, the students of Vedic Mathematics, students of Vedic Mathematics, Science and Technology are having a reach as the existence phenomenon happening within human body and in the solar universe being parallel to each other. This is the phenomenon which is chased in terms of the transcendental code values of the letters and the formulations. However, a step ahead, when the sadhakas will be having intensity of urge to be face to face with the creation, with the Sarg itself, that would mean that now the working format will be of the Gayatri Mantra, and it would be that basic constituents will be the aksharas, the syllables. Previously, the basic were Dive Ank, though for 5 space VMST we are working with the Dive Ank, means the transcendental numbers. Now we will be working with the syllables, akshar. Therefore, it is this change which is going to lead to transition. One shall sit comfortably, permit the transcending mind to be face to face with the syllables format of the Gayatri Mantra, and the letters availed being 56 in number, and 56 being value, which is the factors of the range of numbers 1 to 28, and 28 is a Brahm. So initially we were working with the 6 space, means value 6, the first perfect number, which had taken us to the TCV values, and we had a 5 space VMC format. Along this format, at a step ahead, we would be reaching at the second perfect number, a value 28, means from Surya to Brahm. So from Sun to a Brahm, they create. So this is this difference, it is this attainment which is the attainment which will be giving us the perfection of an enlightenment. When we will be working along this format, how we have to chase it, how we will sequentially progress, how we will be fulfilled with, how we will be enriched with the richness of the bliss of the format of a Gayatri Mantra, and how in terms of it we will be ultimately leading to the whole range of the mantras. And we know each mantra is having a distinct Rishi, Devata, Chand and Swar. These are of transcendental code values: 12 plus 13, 26, 19 plus 13, 15 plus 31. It is 131. It is equal to 3 into 37. And 37 we know is 37 is the value 2 into 18 plus 1, which would mean the 37 are the versions of h cube, h18. Now hypercube of 5, if 5 say represented a body of value 18, when will be manifesting further as h18, then it would be leading us to value 37, and along all the 3 dimensions it will be leading to value 101. So it will be leading us to Swaras, Chandas, Devatas and Rishis for each mantra. It is this way we shall have a visit to this transition and transformation from the TCV values to the aksharas to the syllables. Now we will be working straight with the syllables and straight with the letters. So letters, when are attached, the TCV values, these will be giving us the mathematics, sciences and technologies. However, when the syllables and the letters will be availed as these are, then these will be taking us to the enlightenment of the Sarga, the creations. Therefore, the creation phenomenon is the phenomenon which is blessed and blessed by the senior sadhakas. Tomorrow we shall be concluding phase 15, and with it we will be initiating as to how the further progress is to be along the format of a Gayatri Mantra. So we will be on the path of a Gayatri Mantra. We will be proceeding along Gayatri Mantra from phase 16, which will be Vaiva Samata. So in Vaiva Samata, the last Samata, the 7th Samata of ancient wisdom textbook, Shiv Puran, and then from there we will be having silent inherent takeoff for the transition and transformation for the format of a Gayatri Mantra. And this path, this format of the Gayatri Mantra will bring us face to face with the phenomenon of the whole domain reservoir of the Vedic mantras, from where there is inherent, silent, transcendental takeoff for the Parbrahm. Thank you very much.